All right, and hack. Welcome everybody. It is 5 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern time, whatever o'clock your time. It is time for episode 5 of Queens of
It's
Nerdom.
time.
It is time.
It is time. All right. I'm Jen.
And I'm Marvelous Tay.
The marvelous day. Love it.
Marvelous.
All right. Welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, USDN for short. We are the home of the Queen of Nerddom podcast. This is the perfect safe place for all nerds to come hang out, learn, and share. Guys, I don't know if we've said this before, but please don't worry if you don't know a lot about the stuff that we talk about. We're here to share knowledge and to learn and grow and have fun. I certainly don't know everything. Tay, do you know everything?
Absolutely not. I'm learning as I'm writing
You do.
sometimes. Yeah.
You know everything. Tay knows everything.
No. What? No. That's not what I said at all.
Girl, same. But if you, I'm just kidding. But if you do know a lot, come and share your knowledge with us, okay?
Hell yeah, and here's our intro. Oh. I'm not pressing it. Jeff, it's all you. All right, it's time for our shot o'clock because I'm the hack o'clock. It is also shot o'clock. All right.
Let me pour my shot.
Okay.
Should done
While
with
you
my
do
shot
that,
glass.
I will be talking
Damn it.
about my shot glass and what I will be drinking. So I am drinking a
Oh.
Ciroc pomegranate. I am drinking it in the Halloween Horror Nights 2017 shot glass, which is in Universal Orlando when I got this, which is also, you guessed it, where Hogwarts is. So that's why I'm drinking it out of this cup. Glass, shot glass. What are you drinking?
I love it. I love it. I wanted to try the Jameson orange. Girl, when
That's
it says it's
guessing.
orange, it is ridiculously orange. It's delicious.
All right, so this shot goes to health and making
ready?
time for yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Salud.
Cheers. I love that. Salut.
Yeah, you did that to yourself.
Spicy. didn't even fit into my shot glass. I'm like, how big is this? Damn it. Anyways, it's very orangey. I like it. Okay, so today we will be discussing Luna Lovegood, Hermione Granger,
What?
Severus Snape, and Neville Longbottom.
Mhm.
What? I know you guys didn't know about the other two, but yes. So those, everybody who voted, thank you so much. Um, we always appreciate your inputs when we put those polls out. So we don't leave them up for too long because Tay and I are busy and got work to do on our podcast. So whenever you guys vote, we always take that into consideration when we do these things because we like to do them with you. And
Yay.
just remember, here at USDN, I know we are of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Pew, 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 pew.
Boom, boom. So, the other thing I want to talk about is, a lot of the information that we're presenting today, again, it merely scrapes the surface, a lot of the information that's out there. Um, we try not to go down rabbit holes if we possibly can, but this is probably going to be a long podcast, guys, just because whenever you talk about Harry Potter, it's a lot. So sorry if we lose you along the way or you're like, wow, this is really long. It's going to be a little long, guys. So hang
Mhm.
in there with us. We got lots of cool stuff to talk about with these characters that, Tay, I'm sure you can agree that we absolutely adore. Um,
Cutting it
so
down to
take
what
it
we have
off, my
now
girl.
was a lot. All right. So, as we said, there are
Yeah,
two
vote was hard.
people. Yeah. There are two people that were voted by you guys, and then two that were our favorites that we decided to do on our own. So, the first one that we're going to talk about is our first choice by our fans, which is Luna Lovegood. So, Luna Lovegood, I'm going to tell you about her. It's not going to be a lot, but it's going to have some information out there for you. So, she was born on the 13th of
Love
February,
Luna.
1981. Yeah, I know. She's an only child. Her mother died at the age of 9 while experimenting with some spells. Luna was actually the witness to this. This left her to be raised by her father, who was the editor of the Quibbler. So she attended Hogwarts from 1992 to 1999 and was sorted into the Ravenclaw. By the way, I am also a Ravenclaw. Oh, there we go. I'm also a Ravenclaw. So it was like super awesome to talk about her. She's only 1 year behind Harry and his peeps. She's one of the ones that actually noticed the Andrels on her first day due to seeing her mother die. AD says, as it should be. During
Hmm.
her years at Hogwarts, she was teased for her strange behavior and her odd beliefs and got coined the nickname Loony Lovegood. She became friends with Ginny Weasley, who was the same year as her, who is Ron's younger sister, who is Ron's the same age as Harry. Um, Rabbit holes, right. Okay, so during her year, she became one of the few that believed Harry that Voldemort was back from the dead, because everyone thought he was gone. So she believed Harry when he said after the Triwizard tournament that he was back. Um, this kind of got her into the underwings and good graces of Harry and his trio, or his two friends, the trio. She was then invited into
Yeah,
the
the trio.
yeah the trio into Dumbledore's army. This was taught by Harry Potter, and this was to practice defense against Death Eaters. This was all due to him believing and saying that Voldemort was back. Luna was one of the persuaded she persuaded her father to publish the interview that Rita Skeeter did with Harry on the fact that Voldemort was back, and this actually got more people to believe that Voldemort was back. Um, when Harry planned to go to the Ministry of Magic due to his vision that Sirius was being tortured by Voldemort, Luna is the one that offers the Theandrils as the "we fly," of course, that part of the movie, of when they were trying to discuss of how they were going to get there. She participated in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries in 1996 and protected Ron and Ginny. Ron was underneath a confusion spell that one of the Death Eaters hit him with, and Ginny broke her ankle. So she protected both of them and then eventually actually guided them to safety where Ron and Neville actually were. So during her 5th year, Luna was invited into Professor Slughorn's Christmas party by Harry as his friend. His date, but it was a friendly way. She temporarily becomes the commentator for Quidditch that year, and then she participated in the Battle of the Astronomy Tower alongside Neville, Ginny, Ron, and Hermione. During her 6th year, she attended Bill and Fleur's wedding with her father. You could see her in that classic yellow dress. She immediately was able to recognize Harry, who was actually under the use of Polyjuice Potion. This wasn't actually in the movies. This was in the book. Harry wasn't actually like himself. He was using Polyjuice Potion to look like a Weasley cousin, but Luna automatically knew it was him, which I thought was pretty cool. Luna was one of the ones that tried to steal the Sword of Gryffindor for Harry, with Neville and Ginny to help with the Horcruxes, because they believed that was how you were going to destroy them. So she was one of the ones that tried to do that. She ended up getting caught by Severus and was sent to... Luna got the sight, is what AD said. Yeah, she does.
Yes, she does. Absolutely.
Yeah, she does. So Severus actually was the one that caught her and then put her into detention with what's the big Hagrid. Thank you. Okay, my brain. She also co-led the Dumbledore's army, which had ended, but she was one of the ones that remade it happen again when Hogwarts was underneath the control of Voldemort as Snape as headmaster. We'll get into that in a second as to why. That's so interesting. Okay, so I love Snape, and I'm so sorry. Cool.
Girl,
so
don't be sorry.
Luna was on her way home from the Christmas party on her 6th year when she was kidnapped by Death Eaters due to her and her father's activity with the rebellion, if you will, but was actually freed by Dobby, who's a free house elf. R.I.P. Dobby, I love you. I'm so sorry. And this was in 1998. She then stayed at the Shell Cottage until she returned to Hogwarts to participate in the final battle of the Second Wizarding War. At the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry, Ron, and Hermione go looking for the item that once belonged to a Ravenclaw founder. Luna was actually the one that mentioned and the lost diadem of the Ravenclaw. And her and Harry went to go searching for the actually diadem in the Ravenclaw common room. During the battle, Luna actually fought Bellatrix, which isn't what was in the actual movie, but in the book, Luna fought Bellatrix alongside Hermione and Ginny. In the movie, all you'll see is Ginny and her mom fighting Bellatrix after her mom calls her, "You bitch." Love that scene.
Not my daughter, you bitch.
You bitch. So after leaving school, Luna became a famous dude that should have been in the movie. Yes, absolutely. Black said it the best. AD, you were completely correct. It should have been in the movie. I think it would have been totally awesome cinematically, but it wasn't. So, moving
No
on.
reason why it shouldn't have been, you know?
I know. They had the time. They had the time. Anyway, so Luna became a famous
They really did.
wizarding naturalist. Yeah, Luna is awesome, and we really don't get to see that much. And
Mhm.
so after leaving the school, she became a famous wizarding naturalist and traveled the world in search of strange creatures. So she discovers and classifies many species. This is when she meets Ralph Scamander. This is the grandson of Newt Scamander. So if you've seen the Where to Find Them, what is it? Fantastic Beasts? There we go, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Fantastic.
Um, Yes, I'm sorry. Newt Scamander. This is his grandson. They marry and then they have two twin sons. A couple of fun facts that I wanted to talk about with her is that at Hogwarts Quidditch matches, Luna actually supports Gryffindor against any other house except for Ravenclaw. And to show her support, like in the movie, you see this. To show her support for Gryffindor, she actually wears that head-shaped lion that roars. So you can see this in the movie when uh, Gryffindor and Slytherin were doing a Quidditch match together, and she was wearing her lion head. So that's what you see in the movie, and that's what the books are talking about.
Mhm.
Um, and then to show her support for Ravenclaw, she wears an eagle hat with flapping wings. Hades says, "Oh yeah, I remember. Hey Kim, what up?" So
What's up, Kim?
Harry names his daughter Lily Luna after her. And Luna's actually the only living person that is named after one of Harry's children. I thought that was pretty interesting. And the last thing that I want to talk about the last thing I want to emphasize on my fun facts that I found was the plum earrings that Luna wears in Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix were actually made by Evanna Lynch herself, which is actually the actress that plays Luna Lovegood. So she made the plum earrings as well as the bracelet that she wore in the shape of Luna's Patronus in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So that is Luna Lovegood.
Oh, Luna. You know, I think my favorite part about Luna is definitely with the Thrustrals when you know, in the beginning you always think that the carriages are just magically being drawn, but it
Right.
turns out that
They're
these
not.
Thrustrals, like these skeleton-looking winged Pegasus, are pulling them and they're not. And then I love how Harry like sees them and Luna's like, "Oh, I've seen him. I see him too, Harry Potter." And I was like, "What?" I love
Yeah,
that.
and you think
She
that she's
like
just
she
crazy.
normalizes it for Harry, and I think
Exactly.
that
And he's like, "Oh, this is
yeah.
the new norm." And she's like one of his only friends that's outside of Gryffindor. That is like one of his best friends. All of his other friends are really like in the Gryffindor, but like she's in Ravenclaw, but they're
Mhm.
still like really good friends. So it was all cool information for me to find
Yeah,
out.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Okay, you ready? You ready to talk about Hermione?
Absolutely, I am.
All right. So, Miss Hermione Granger. Let's talk about her. So, she was born September 19th, 1979. Her wand is a 10 3/4 inch vine wood with a dragon heartstring core. Um,
Ooh.
so interesting thing, right? So here's an interesting thing about Hermione is that when she found out that she was going to Hogwarts, she actually began studying it before she even went to Hogwarts.
Mm.
She actually learned all the spells in her spell book by heart, and she was actually even to perform a few spells at home. Now, this is really important.
But
You
she is
guys know that they did not get their wands yet.
yeah, that's wild. And so
Yeah.
that makes so much more sense than in the first movie when she meets Harry Potter in the cart and then she does the Oculus Reparo on his glasses and why she was able to do that and know that and when Ron does his with the
Mhm.
bottom bellows, whatever, it turned this fat rat yellow or something like that, and then it turns it into a glass. She's like, I
Yeah.
don't know that one.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was all very cool.
Was. Um, she even purchased several other books to like further her understanding of the wizarding world because as you know that she came from non-magical parents. Um, so she wanted to make sure that she had equal, if not more, knowledge than the pureblood or half-blood classmates that she was getting ready to be with. Um, so she was, as you all know, was sorted into Gryffindor. And it was actually questioned by a lot of people, and I actually questioned this myself, why she wasn't sorted into Ravenclaw
With all of
instead
her
of
knowledge,
Gryffindor.
right?
And
Yeah.
Hermione actually, exactly, she's super smart. Not that Gryffindors aren't smart, but Ravenclaws are
They're
definitely
known for their bravery,
known to
right?
be more studious. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and she actually alludes to this when she's on the Hogwarts Express, and she's like, Gryffindor sounds by far the best. So I think that's, as you guys all know, whenever the sorting hat's on your head, it also takes into consideration what you choose, who you want to be a part of. And I think that's why Hermione ultimately got sorted into Gryffindor.
Okay.
Um, uh, So I'm gonna kind of go book by book. All the things that Hermione did that I think is absolutely amazing. Try not to make it boring. So, in the first Harry Potter book, which is set in 1991, so as we talked about, Hermione demonstrated a lot of knowledge and talent with her magic that was beyond most of the other students, as you saw. Um, she soon proved to be the best in all of her classes. She was very eager to please the professors, and she also liked to help others learn. But it kind of came across in like a bossy way, which is in the beginning. So that kind of annoyed a lot of people, and it was really difficult for her to make friends. Poor
Yeah, because who
girl.
wants to be friends with the
Um,
teacher's pet? I was the teacher's pet. I know.
exactly.
I know.
You're like, I don't want to be friends with you. So bossy. Um, and one of the people that she helped a lot was Neville Longbottom. Keep that in the back of your mind. So Hermione was very strict with the school rules. And she also tried to prevent other students from getting into trouble. And she followed Harry and Ron when they were leaving Gryffindor Tower to duel Draco Malfoy.
Hmm.
Um, so they were chased by Filch. Now, some of these things are in the book, not the movie. Be warned.
Okay.
Um, but Filch, who was the
That's
grounds
the guy with the
person,
cat, right?
he was tipped off by Malfoy. Yeah, yeah, the one. Who was he? Who was he on Game of Thrones, guys?
Oh, I don't know.
He was the one that guarded the tower. Anyways, the river. I can't remember. It will come to me later. Um, so, anyways, they ran into the third floor corridor, which is actually forbidden to students, and that's when they first came face to face with Fluffy.
The
So,
three-headed dog.
I know Fluffy as Cerebus or a three-headed dog or the three-headed dog.
There we
Exactly.
go. Thank you, Rob.
Frey, Rob, bro, you're the best, dude. It's gonna come to me later, and I'm gonna be like, damn it. That's right. Well, Walter Frey. So same guy plays Filch in this movie. Um, so anyways, they came face to face with Fluffy. Um, so later on, Hermione argued that her spying on them was to their benefit because she saw that Fluffy was actually standing on a trapdoor and
Hmm.
probably likely guarding something. Now, Ron and Harry did not notice this initially. I'm sure they got really sidetracked as I would. I'm like, look, it's a three-headed dog. Oh my God. Yeah. So good thing Hermione was around for that one, dude. So now during the mountain troll incident, um, this is actually where the trio's friendship actually solidified. Now, this mountain troll, as we all know, at the end of the movie, was actually led into the school by Professor Quirrell. Um, Hermione had been in the bathroom crying because Ron was saying some pretty not so nice things about her, and she was upset. Once they heard that the
Because she
mountain
loves
troll was
him.
in there and they
Sorry.
knew that Hermione was in there, they went in to rescue her.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I know. All the signs kind of point to it, and you're like, oh, that's why.
Makes
That's
sense.
why. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, so so this is where their friendship solidified. So here is Professor McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell arrive at the scene and see Hermione um, covered for Ron and Harry, claiming that she was fighting the troll because she thought that she could handle it because she read a great deal about them. And Ron and Harry had merely come to help help her escape. So since she took up for them and covered for them with the professors, um, they were best friends since then.
Oh.
Um, now from there, I know there you go, friends, I love it. So from there, she also helped Hagrid with Norbert. So if you remember Norbert, he was a little dragon that
Mm-hmm.
Hagrid had illegally procured. Okay,
From a friend at
yes,
the
it
bar.
is illegal to have a yeah, a friend of that man, Hagrid. How many times has he made these jails and gets in like an illegal, like magical animal? Oh dear,
Every
Hagrid.
single time. Every
Um,
time.
so the every single time, yeah, every time. So the three of them helped Hagrid care for Norbert until he was discovered, and then Hermione and Harry actually ended up smuggling Norbert out with some friends of Ron's older brother Charlie, who worked as a dragon tamer.
Mm.
Um, but then they also discovered that Hagrid let it slip out that Fluffy was in fact guarding something, and
Mm.
it was just between Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And they're like,
poor
who's
Hagrid.
Nicholas Flamel?
Because who is Nicholas Flamel? So Harry's research turned up nothing. But here comes Hermione. Hermione actually had a book on alchemy and that she was using for, and I quote, for a bit of light reading. Now, this was also in the movie. And she realized that Fluffy was guarding the Philosopher's Stone. I can't, man, I actually had Fluffy like as a stuffed animal. I love that damn thing. And as someone called
Oh.
Fluffy, I was like, oh God. I know, he's so cute. I think I still have him somewhere. Um, so Harry was really fearful, obviously, that Voldemort was going to come back and steal it by stealing the stone. And then he was also felt that Snape was acting as a double agent, so he wanted to steal it first, right? So here's the trio sets
Mm-hmm.
out. Now, Hermione, they get caught by the devil's snare, if you remember, and Hermione
Mm-hmm.
helped free him by casting the Bluebell's flame.
Yes.
Now, luckily they had Hermione because they would have been stuck. So just a note,
Because
this is
Ron was like
actually
freaking
playable
out
on
and was like choking himself.
yeah, stop moving. And she's like, stop moving. And she cast the Bluebell's flame and it released him. So some of these things are actually playable on a PC Mac game. I didn't write down all of the names of the video games, but some of these things are playable. Um, and then the riddle that Harry has to solve with the potions in the black and purple flames. Also, playable that was not in the movie, but Hermione was actually ended up being awarded 50 points to Gryffindor by correctly solving Professor Snape's potion riddle in the
Yes.
end.
Yes.
So, but yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Playable, just so you know.
Okay.
So now we come to Harry Potter 2 in 1992. Um, this is where we first encounter the prejudice, and this is actually where Hermione first encounters the prejudice of and hatred surrounding her blood status when Draco Malfoy calls her a filthy mudblood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that
And Ron
sucks,
tries to
man.
stick up
Why,
for her
man?
and says, "Eat slugs,"
Yeah,
but his mold is
exactly. It's like eat
broken and he
slugs,
eats
Malfoy.
slugs.
He tried. He gets points for trying. For real.
Yes, he does.
All right. So the trio learned of a secret chamber that was built by Salazar Slytherin. in which it hit a horrible monster that would petrify Muggleborns in Hogwarts. Because Salazar Slytherin was against Muggleborns being allowed into Hogwarts. And they found out that it can only be opened by an heir of Slytherin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is to note in this movie that Hermione is actually able to make polyjuice. Now, everybody thinks, oh, yeah, she made polyjuice. It's actually a very advanced potion. If you remember in later books, Professor Snape makes a polyjuice potion, which he is the potions master. Yeah. I mean, if she can make a polyjuice potion and so does, and Snape does, I mean, that does super advances my point. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And actually takes a month to brew this potion.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually goes into Professor Snape's own cupboards in order to make this polyjuice potion. And the point of this is to interrogate Draco to see if he is actually the heir of Slytherin. Hermione, let's see, they got a hair from Bulstra's cat, and not actually Millicent herself. So they didn't show this in the movie, but so you see Ron and Harry change into Crabbe and Goyle, and I don't think in the movie she actually took anything, but in the book she actually did. She ended up turning into a cat.
No, she does in the movie. She turned into a cat. She has
Because
the cat
actually,
face.
does she? I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember that. I haven't seen the second one in so long. Um, so she turns into a cat. So she stays. She actually has to end up staying in the hospital wing for a while because she ended up staying in this cat form well after the potion wore off.
Damn.
Believe it or not. So yeah. And so Hermione is actually the one that draws this connection between Harry hearing voices in the wall during the Chamber of Secrets. And she came to the conclusion that this creature must be a basilisk.
And Amanda,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you're
right,
right.
Amanda.
Yeah.
Yep, she was hiding in the stall. Yep, I remember. You're right.
And then she does
Yep.
open up eventually the door to reveal that she is a cat.
So she did a lot of research. Yeah, that's right. Uh-huh. I remember. Oh yeah, like I forgot about that part. Um, so our dear sweet Hermione, as usual, dives into her research and researches that if she used a mirror to like look around corners, um, which actually ended up saving her and another student's life, she would be petrified instead of dying instantly from the basilisk's stare or his eyes, if you will. It's kind of like reminds me of Medusa a little bit. Just
Yeah.
saying, some
Okay.
parallels there,
I love it.
right? Right. So she ends up being petrified. So we don't see a whole lot of Hermione um, in Harry Potter 2 after this because of her being petrified, but she still manages to help the rest of the trio because she ended up scribbling pipes because they could really figure out how the basilisk is transversing the skull, right?
Right.
So luckily, Hermione had that all figured out. All right. So in Harry Potter 3, occurs in 1993. She adopts a ginger part Kneasel cat, which actually a Kneasel, I had to look that up because I was like, what's a Kneasel? I don't know. Did you know what a Kneasel was? I had to look that up. I was like, what's a Kneasel? I'm like, I'm curious. I'm like, what's a Kneasel? So
Bless
it's
you.
actually a magical beast. Yeah. God bless you.
Sorry. Continue.
No. It's okay. That's where my brain went. I'm like, Sneasel. What? So,
So stupid.
so she adopts this cat. So Sneasel. You can't with you, Tay. So, it's actually a magical beast related to a cat.
Okay.
And it's known to be able to detect untrustworthy people. I'm going to bring that up
Ooh.
again.
Okay. I look forward to it.
Right? You think that's why? Do you think that's why he's going after? Let's just talk Think about it now. Do you think that's why he's going after Scabbers?
Yes. Because the cat knows. It knows. Okay.
Makes so much more
It
sense
is
now, right? It
good.
makes so
80
much
said
more
that's
sense now that I'm
good.
like,
Yeah.
that's why he's going after Scabbers,
Right. Doesn't go after any of the
right?
other mice. Doesn't go after
That's
literally
so.
anything
That's
else.
what I was
Just
like.
just just Scabbers. Because of who
No,
Scabbers is.
just Scabbers,
Okay.
girl. I slapped. I slapped my laptop down. I was like, I'm fucking done. I was like, damn it! It was right there the whole time. I was like, damn, I knew it. All right.
Yes, Rob said it. And knew Scabbers was no good.
So
Yes.
obviously, yeah, he did. Man, God,
Oh, I'm crying a
Crookshanks.
little bit.
Crookshanks
Yes.
was his name.
Yes.
So, I know. Sorry. Um, this is also the movie where Hermione has the time turner. She
Mm-hmm.
got this. Remember, she got this from Professor McGonagall, so
Right.
she could double up on her classes.
What a
She also
nerd.
very, yeah. I mean, hard time with like standard classes. Um, she also defended Buckbeak. Buckbeak, as you guys remember, he is a hippogriff. From the Committee for the Disposal of Dangerous Creatures for attacking Malfoy during the Care of Magical Creatures class. It's
And that's when you
totally
see her come
unfounded.
back and
Man,
be like, "You have to get
that's such a
Draco to
hard.
the hospital now."
Oh gosh,
When she comes back with her
I have such
tantrum.
a hard time with that scene because man, like Draco, fucker. I know, it's so annoying.
He's useful later.
Um, but she's on. It is. It is. It is. It just that was so frustrating to watch that
Hmm.
poor Buckbeak. Anyhow, he had a good ending. She also deduced. This is guys, remember this is where we first met Professor Lupin. He's like one of the best defense against the dark arts teacher like ever.
Yes.
I remember he was. She deduced that he was actually a werewolf based on his boggart being a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it also the timing of like his unexplained absences from class and how Professor Snape ended up changing their lesson plans to werewolves very abruptly because
Turned to
Hermione
page
had that class like all planned out.
394.
Yeah. How do you girl? I can't believe you remember that.
I am a nerd. It is in my blood.
Okay. It's okay. It's like I bleed Harry Potter. It's okay.
my
No,
my
I
blood is
remember that
literally
too for
blue.
some weird
It's
reason.
blue.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I get it. Um, but but you remember during this, thanks to Hermione having her time turner and some very vague and very helpful instructions from Professor Dumbledore, they were able to save Sirius Black and
Hmm.
Buckbeak from death.
Not only
And
one life can be saved, but
and that was
two.
also at the end of this year. I know.
It's
I
so good.
can't. This has to be close to my favorite. I know. I love all the movies, but this one's like super. I absolutely love this movie. So yeah, so
Hmm.
she ended up turning her time turner in, much to everyone's dismay, because she just said it was just too much trouble. And it's like, okay, Hermione, okay, all right. Now, Harry Potter for 1994. So this was not in the movies, but this is where she started the Crusade for the Liberation of House Elves, and she called it Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare. Spew, SPEW. I'm gonna name it something
That
else.
sounds like a spew of words.
After, yeah, or barf. I always think spew is barfing. Like, anyways, after the abusive treatment of a half named Winky. And the house elves actually didn't really appreciate Hermione campaigning because some of them liked their positions. I know a lot of them liked working at Hogwarts.
Right.
They enjoyed their work and they didn't really like her campaigning. but there was actually a point where the trio ended up talking to Dobby and Winky, and I think Dobby was the only one who said he enjoyed being free, but he also started to talk to her about the struggles of being a free elf as well.
Okay.
Um, and this is also one of my more favorite
Damn.
books. Yeah, it actually does. Yeah,
Yeah, AD said
which
that
is actually
house elves.
pretty
Yeah.
interesting that J.K. Rowling added this in her books as well. Yeah. Um, so this is the same book where Harry Potter's name got put into the Goblet of Fire. Um, Fun fact about Jennifer is I remember reading this book on one of my deployments. Just so
Okay.
you know, love this
It's
book.
good
I
to
read it a
know.
lot because I didn't have
Movie's
any other
not so
books.
great, but okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Um, so,
Hi,
so
Dad.
Hermione was one of the only students that believed Harry. Who's this?
That's my dad.
Hello. What's up? Hi, Dad. What's up, Dad? Um, and this is where she's the only one that believes Harry's innocent and not putting his name into the Goblet of Fire to enter the Triwizard Tournament. I think
Right.
there's at one point Ron is suspicious of him for wanting all the glory and everything, but Hermione
Yeah.
like
And you see that
genuinely
in the movie
believes
too.
him,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
one of the few people that helps him prepare. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure. Um, this is where Hermione also discovers that Rita Skeeter is actually an unregistered animagus. So she can actually shift into a beetle. And that's
Huh.
how she witnesses
With
really
all of her
private and
data.
confidential conversations. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so Hermione actually threatened to expose her abilities, but so it's basically Hermione like somewhat blackmailed Rita, saying like, well, you're going to write this instead, and you're going to stop doing these things. And obviously, Rita ended up agreeing with her.
Wow.
Good book. Good book.
Yeah.
I know. Digest. Digest. So, um, Harry Potter 5, 1995. Hermione and Ron were appointed prefects for Gryffindor.
Huh.
Now, Hermione took this position very seriously because this is quite an honor. What?
Andy said that's legit blackmail,
Shit.
not kinda.
It is. Well, the only reason I say kind of is because Rita kind of deserved it. And honestly, I probably would have turned her in.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I would have just turned that bitch in. Anyways, this is me. um, So Hermione takes her position of prefect very seriously because it's quite an honor to be a prefect, right? Um, Again, she resumes her activism with the house elves, which you don't really see in the movies, but not as intensely as she did in the fourth book. Thank goodness, because
Okay.
I think a lot of people were like really annoyed by this.
Hmm.
Um, she does do something kind of crappy though. So she starts knitting hats and socks and stuff and hiding them in Gryffindor Tower with like some rubbish. So when the elves, she's trying to trick the elves into freeing
Oh,
themselves,
okay,
which
yeah.
I was like, that's kind of crappy, Hermione.
Because they didn't
Um,
want to
they've
not they
kind of,
didn't wanna be
yeah,
freed, right. That's wild. Oh,
yeah.
I heard
Like
them.
I kind of had an issue with this when I was reading that book, but anyhow, um, so it ended up that Dobby was the only house elf that actually enjoyed her gifts, and he was the only one that would clean Gryffindor Tower. But she never knew about that. Dobby never told
Mhm.
her. He cleaned the whole thing and never said a word. He just
Aw.
enjoyed her gifts. I was like, Dobby, so sweet. I
Dobby!
know.
Oh my god.
Dobby! Dobby, why?
Oh, man.
um, this year, Luna, she met Luna this year. And if there was
Mhm.
ever two people that were exact opposites, that would be Hermione and Luna.
Mhm.
Um, but they got past their differences and they ended up becoming friends. I think even J.K. Rowling has been quoted saying that Luna's like the anti Hermione.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Um, yeah. Now, Hermione is actually one of the driving forces behind Dumbledore's army. Um, she's the one that told Harry that, um, I think this is when Professor Umbridge is teaching Defense Against the Dark Arts, and
Damn,
she
damn that
absolutely
pink woman.
refused to teach them anything. Dude, have you ever heard that Stephen King actually found her absolutely like chilling? Stephen King. Like, can't believe that.
Damn,
He's like,
I
"Oh,
didn't
man,
know
she's
that.
evil." I'm like, "Man, if the king of evil is saying that," yeah, he actually said it. He's like, "Man," he's like, "She's absolutely evil." I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, Stephen King said that. She is. She's absolutely evil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she only focused on theory and not actual like practical application. So this is where Hermione um encourages Harry to help people practice and learn. And this is actually the very first time that Hermione's Patronus charm actually takes a corporeal form. Um, she's actually unable to perform this in Harry Potter 3 when they're fighting the Dementors. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
we're not necessarily talking about Harry, but that's when Harry's able to perform one of the hardest charms, which is the Patronus charm, and it takes full embodiment of a stag.
Yeah.
So Hermione wasn't even able to do that, but she does in this book. Um, and then she also, her brilliant spell work actually ensured the security of Dumbledore's army in the room of requirement as well. And she created, remind me if this is, I don't remember this in the movie. I watched this movie not long ago, but she's
Okay.
actually the one that created coins that were enchanted with a protean charm. Now, this is actually an advanced charm that she ends up using. So there's like a club attendance sheet, and any person who tattles on Dumbledore's army actually get this horrendous rash on their face that spells out sneak
Oh,
and like painful boils. Right.
okay.
Rob, that wasn't in the movie, was it?
I don't. I don't
I
remember
don't
that in
think
the
I
movie.
remember that being in the movie.
Mm-mm. I only remember
No, I
Harry being the only
don't think
one with
so.
anything like actually on
Um,
his skin in the movie.
right. But there, yeah. So there was
Yeah,
actually
Rob said
one
it's
of
not in the
the
movie. Yeah.
members of Dumbledore's army. Her yeah, which is sad because it's another thing that Hermione did that was actually really clever that actually showed like her abilities. So there was actually a member of Dumbledore's army who was kind of reluctant to join in the beginning, um, but she was being interrogated, and yeah, her charm worked. She ended up telling, and the sneak coming on the counter curse came on her face, or the curse came on her face, and
Yeah.
the professors were not able to find a counter curse for this. And that's when like Harry knew like her jinx abilities were just like absolutely like phenomenal. Like that's how smart, like Hermione is this, not just smart, but she's incredibly like clever as well. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I didn't think it was in the movie, Rob. Thanks for backing me up there. Um, Now this is also afterwards because of the sneak curse.
What's the plot?
I think
It's my
I
Instapot.
think I
It's not
vaguely,
Nerdom.
yeah, I vaguely remember that. Oh, I'm like, we can
I was
stop
like,
if
what
we're
is
having
it?
a fire. No, you're fine.
No, I'm good.
Pause, pause. Be right
No, we're
back.
good. We're good.
Okay.
I got all warm. I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? I'm good.
All right. Okay. So this is actually another time where Hermione stopped Professor Umbridge from trying to use the Cruciatus curse on Harry during questioning after he was sneaking in her office.
Mm.
Um, she At another time, Lord Professor Umbridge into the Forbidden Forest, claiming that Dumbledore's army had a secret weapon that they were building for Dumbledore as well. And then you remember that was when Umbridge ended up
Yeah.
being carried
Yeah,
off
that was in the movie. Yeah,
by the
that's how they lured her
centaurs.
into
Yeah.
it. Yeah, which was like super cool. I
Yeah.
mustn't tell lies. Yes.
hmm Yeah, and then yeah, that was when like Hagrid's like half giant brother Gwarp ended up helping them and everything. So yeah, Hermione's cleverness wins again. All right. All right. Harry Potter 6. Harry Potter 6.
Yay.
So this is where she took her owls. Okay. She got high academic prestige when she obtained 10 owls. So she got outstanding marks in charms, transfiguration, care of magical creatures, arithmancy, history of magic, herbology, astronomy. Girl, really?
All of the
The
things.
I'm not gonna go all of the things except for defense against the dark arts.
Hmm.
She only got exceeds expectations, and actually, Ron ended up making fun of her because she was disappointed that she only gets exceed expectations at defense against the dark arts. He's like,
Of
really?
course, she was disappointed.
That's what you're. I'm like, oh my god, I get it. I do. Um, so this is when Hermione, I think, realizes her feelings towards Ron. Um, when Professor Slughorn has the potion of Amarantia. Amarantia, am I saying that right? Amarantia.
It sounds right.
So it's the most powerful, right? Okay. It's the most powerful love potion in the world, right?
Hmm.
And it's supposed to smell differently between um according to what like attracts us.
Yeah.
So she states, I smell freshly mown grass, new parchment, and then she stops and has this like really awkward look on her face and she stops talking.
And
And
in the movie, she says peppermint.
I think the last thing
Sorry
Ron,
if
do
I
you
cut
smell
you
like
off there.
peppermint? Inquiring minds want to know, Ron. I think Ron smells like peppermint.
Yep, he 100%
I
does.
think she does. Yeah. And in this particular book, it's trying to notice her feelings first at the school dance. Yeah, I think so too. I think when the school dance,
She
I
didn't
think
get asked by
she
Ron,
well, I think I remember
and
that
she was upset.
Ron didn't yeah, when Ron didn't ask her. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. She was
because he
upset
was like
about
the
it,
head of
but
the Quidditch team now in Gryffindor, and he was like, "Oh, I'm like too good for any of this," and then didn't have a date, and then asked
right.
one of the Indian twins, I can't remember their names, um, to the dance and said, and she's like, "You could have just asked me," and then she storms off and goes with Crumb, Victor Crumb.
Yeah, like she
So
didn't want to be the backup plan. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. No. No, I remember that because I remember her being really upset at the dance and that, he was kind of like jealous of Crumb and she was like, well, you could have just asked me.
and she says, "You ruin everything." Yeah,
Should have got the book. Should have got the book.
yeah.
Hmm Yeah. Um, this is special to note that they don't really say a whole lot of it, but you see a lot more of it in Harry Potter 7 or in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. But in this particular book, she actually starts to master nonverbal magic. She was actually the first in her class to do so.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's hard. Can you imagine? I
That
mean,
is.
already this girl is learning magic and doing these things initially without even a wand, and then she becomes even more brilliant, like using a wand. And now she's the first one who's able to actually master it, not just do it. She
Yeah.
masters like nonverbal magic. Like, damn,
It's
girl.
like being a
That's why I want to
ventriloquist.
talk
Like,
about
I
Hermione
couldn't
because
even
I'm
do
like,
that.
she's no. Oh, no. Um, I can't do it. My lips move. Okay. Um, so Harry Potter's sorry.
So
So
ridiculous.
Harry Potter 7. I know, dude. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Um, so the Deathly Hallows. So Hermione basically she didn't necessarily plan the journey, but she was prepared. I know it says she planned it, but she was actually like very prepared to
Yeah.
help Harry and Ron find the Horcruxes. Um,
Hmm.
this is where you see Hermione taking the memories of her parents um, and making them
Obliviate.
forget that she was ever their daughter.
Yep.
Obliviate. Well, who is the other Game of Thrones character? Don't say it, Tay. Who is the other Game of Thrones character you see in this scene? Who's her mom? You may remember who her mom is.
We'll leave it up to Rob. I'm sure he'll get
I got
it.
money on Rob.
Hmm.
I got him. I got my money's on you, Rob. All right. I'll wait for him to type
To
that up.
answer. Yes.
Um, this is where she she joins the Order of the Phoenix. I remember they wanted to join earlier, but they were way too young, and that's why they created Dumbledore's army. But now they're old
Hmm.
enough, so they end up joining the Order of the Phoenix. Um, and this is where you see the Order of the Phoenix comes to remove Harry from his home. You have all of them like taking the polyjuice potion to be the seven Potters.
Hmm.
Um, she, in particular, flew on a terrestrial with Kingsley Shacklebolt and fought off at least 5 Death Eaters.
Yo,
5.
girl, did you say five?
Um,
5?
and then she was also the. She said, "I said 5." She killed that.
Yep, there you go.
Look at
Oop.
Rob. Look at Rob. Caitlin Stark. Thank you. Exactly. Can't believe that. Man, when I saw that, I was like, it was actually the other way around. Like I remember like watching Game of Thrones. I'm like, that's Hermione's mom. Oh my god, look at that.
Yeah.
6 degrees of
Now I'm gonna have
separation.
to go back and watch like
Gotta
Harry
love it.
Potter and be like, oh my god, that's Stark.
That's Caitlin Stark. That's Caitlin Stark. um, so during the execution of Albus Dumbledore's will, she received the tales of Beetle the Bard,
Hmm.
which was a children's book that was only written in runes, and this is where we find out about the Deathly Hallows. Um, she also displays a incredible wealth of knowledge, as always, when she mentions that the snitches have flesh memories. And this actually surprises Ron and Harry because she's not really a big Quidditch fan.
Hmm.
So, um, but she mentions this to Harry when Harry receives the golden snitch as one
Right.
of the things that was bequeathed to him from Dumbledore's will.
Hmm.
Um, during these actually 2 movies, she shows a lot of great foresight and magical talent, but she's actually able to separate herself and Ron and her and Harry away from danger during the wedding when the Death Eaters attacked. And
Right.
this is where you see the small beaded purse that she has that she placed an undetectable extension charm.
Which is so rad.
Kind of has
So
some
rad.
D&D
Yeah.
influence there.
No,
Yeah.
immediately when I saw that
Yeah, a little bit
purse,
of D&D. I see what you did there, JK.
I immediately thought of Mary Poppins is where my brain went, where she reaches into the bag and she like pulls out like a whole the coat rack. That's where my brain went when I watched it. So that's where my recollection came
So
from.
I I just want that purse. Yeah, just want that purse, just saying. Um and this is also where you see so just that alone, all the things that they needed packed, she has packed into this purse. So
Yeah.
way to have great foresight there, Hermione. She was able to steal the locket that Dolores Umbridge had around her neck, That
Mm-hmm.
was one of the remember that was one of the 7 Horcruxes.
Yeah.
Um, and then again, the separating again. I think this is where Yaxley. Do you remember when they were in the head of the ministries and they're running away, and Yaxley ended up grabbing onto them, separating, and
Yeah. And then Ron's arm was
she
like all
used like a
twisted. Yeah.
revulsion jinx to yeah. So that's where she used oh, what is it? The essence of Dittany,
Mm-hmm.
because she was too scared to heal him herself. Yeah,
Yeah.
she ended up using that. I remember that. Um, and this is actually sad when she was tortured by Bellatrix as well. Um, but that took a lot of mental fortitude. Like I've never
Mm-hmm.
personally been tortured, but I mean, for someone to actually lay there and be tortured by like a high level, very powerful witch.
Scary.
I mean, she was cutting into her arm with a dagger, and still, like Hermione, I think Hermione ends up passing out in the book, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she stayed strong for the whole thing. Poor Hermione.
Yeah.
So dabbling a little bit to after Hogwarts, um, she ended up going back and taking her Newt exam. Which those of you who don't know what Newt means, it means Nastily Exhausting Wizarding Test. Um,
Which is the
just
last test
and
they
it's
have to
very
take in their
subject
7th year.
specific.
Yeah.
Last one. So that's basically kind of seeing like what job that you're, mm, smart enough
Like your
for, appropriate for. Appropriate.
SATs and ACTs for the people that go to college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Um, shortly after, I think a lot of this information, just so you know, comes from the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. A little bit. I dabbled a little bit beyond. Yeah, I never read that book, but I was like, I won't get into that.
Yeah.
So Hermione and Ron married, had 2 kids, Rose and Hugo. And she was also the godmother of James Sirius Potter,
Right.
SAT for wizard. Funny. Um, one of the big things to note that I think the reason why Albus Dumbledore gave her the Beetle the Bard um, tales was because it was written in ancient runes, and that was one of the things that Hermione was very good at. So she ended up translating this. It was actually she took a lot of notes um, that was lent to her from Professor McGonagall to translate
Right.
this. So I don't think anybody had ever translated it before. And Hermione goes on with the Ministry of Magic to actually get rid of a lot of the oppressive, like pro pureblood laws as well.
Hmm.
Later on, she ends up becoming the actual Minister of Magic. It's like, damn,
That's
Hermione
so
became
cool.
Minister of Magic. Can you believe that? Uh, Damn, girl, damn. There's a lot of things I won't really delve into with that as far as like the cure the cursed child, but if you've never read it, I haven't read it because it was. I'm just gonna say it. It was
Do it.
written for a play, and it's just for me not really readable. The struggle was real. I don't know if she
Okay.
was like I don't know if she was the first minister of magic. Um, I honestly don't know that answer.
I don't
She's
know.
the first one that
You know
I
what?
know
We'll
of,
get
but I
back to
don't
you,
know if
AG.
they're
We'll let you know.
you have the same issue. Yeah, I'll look that up, bro. I'll look that up. But anyhow, so there's Hermione in a very large nutshell. Super smart, super amazing witch. I love her. Absolutely love her.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there is your favorite to go into. My favorite. I'm gonna be talking about Severus Snape.
Love
This is
Snape.
my favorite. This was my pick for this episode. So Severus Snape was born
Cheers.
in cheers. So he was born on the 9th of January in 1960, And then he died on the 2nd of May, 1998, at 38 years old in the Shrieking Shack. So, to go into his childhood and Hogwarts years. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Does
So,
appreciate you, bud.
uh, he was a half blood. His father was a muggle and his mother was a witch. He was raised very close to the Evans home, who is Lily Evans, Harry Potter's mother. Very poor. His father was abusive and his mother was very neglectful. So not very a bright childhood. He met Lily and her sister Petunia when he was the ripe age of 9, and felt deeply in love with Lily. Uh, did not care for Petunia, but loved Lily. The two became very close friends, and
Whatever
then
for.
Snape and Lily started Hogwarts in 1971. Where he was sorted into Slytherin and she was sorted into Gryffindor. Snape actually became immediate enemies of James Potter, who is Harry Potter's dad, and Sirius Black, who is Harry Potter's godfather, as we've talked about him mainly in Harry Potter 3. The start of this hatred started with a disagreement on their train to Hogwarts. Snape and Lily were in the same cart, and Potter and Black came into the cart with them, mainly because James saw Lily and was like, "Oh." But anyway, they got into a disagreement on this in this cabin. Yes, the heart emojis all day, every day. Saying about which house is best. Um, and James very much dislikes Severus because he said that he wanted to go into Slytherin, and he was like, "Nah, dude, like Gryffindor is all day, every day." So, their tensions only grew because the both of them loved Lily so much. Um, so Snape had a passion for dark arts. He became involved with bullies, hurting the friendship with Lily, which broke in their 5th year because the people that he got involved with were all purebloods and she was not. This is also when Snape met Lucius Malfoy, who is Draco Malfoy's father, and he was the prefect for Slytherin during his first year. Snape became a member of Slug's club. So Professor Slughorn, he had a club for talented potions. This is where he is found in a pitcher, clutching his copy of Advanced Potion Making. We'll get to that in a bit. Snape can be like in this book. Snape actually created a multiple spells and curses. One of which that I will talk about is Septum Centra, that slashes cuts to bleed extensively. You will never actually really see the picture of Snape on Slughorn's mantle because he never really thought that Snape would have. Oh, okay, yes, ma'am. Because Slughorn never thought that Snape would really become anything, so he just kind of hid him behind all the other photos, but keeping Lily in the front. So during the First Wizarding War, which is in 1978 to 81, Snape tries to win back the affections of Lily by joining the Death Eaters.
What?
I don't know why he decided to do that. It was a really stupid decision. But one of his biggest contributions as a Death Eater was to let Voldemort know about the prophecy that he had overheard. That goes a little something like this. At the
This is
end
what
of July.
Trelawney said, right?
Yes, yeah, the professor that saw into the future that was having a conversation with Dumbledore.
Mhm.
So He was eavesdropping. He heard this conversation. He heard the prophecy that said, at the end of July, a child will be born who will cause the destruction of Lord Voldemort. So this applied to two people, Harry Potter and Neville Longbottom. So Voldemort immediately targets the Potters. Snape begs Voldemort to spare Lily due to his love for her, right? Voldemort agrees, but ultimately, obviously, fails at this. Sounds like they should have used the unbreakable vow. We'll get into what an unbreakable vow is later, but just saying that would have
I agree.
That would have definitely caused all of this not to happen. But anyway, story happens. We continue. Due to the fear of Lily being murdered, Snape flips sides and becomes a member of the Order of the Phoenix as a double agent during the Second Wizarding War. Snape goes to Dumbledore and tells him what he told Voldemort about the prophecy and begs Dumbledore to protect Lily. Despite his efforts to protect the Potters, Voldemort was tipped off by the one and only Peter Pettigrew about where they were, aka Scabbers. Damn you, Scabbers. So Snape was devastated by Lily's death and wants to die, just doesn't want anything else to do with anything. Dumbledore urges him to continue on living to ensure that Harry is safe out of the respect of Lily's memory. Snape spends the rest of his life protecting Harry because he realizes that's what he needs to do. So his career at Hogwarts was from 1981 to 1995. So Snape began teaching at Hogwarts in 1981. He applied for the position of the Defense Against the Dark Arts, but was rejected multiple times. This actually was because Dumbledore knew that the job was jinxed by Voldemort, and no teacher would last more than a year. What do you want? It's okay. So, sorry.
She has something to say about that.
She's like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So Voldemort jinxed the position, and nobody would last more than a year. Yes. So Dumbledore employed Snape as a potions master, and as head as the Slytherin house. I'm sorry. So following Voldemort's fall, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Following, yep, there she is. There's her Snoop. Hi. All right. So following Voldemort's fall, Snape never attempted to find his old master, and thus having switched sides. Yes. Okay. Yes. Having switched sides ever since the Dark Lord had targeted Lily, and this allowed him to avoid time in Azkaban as Dumbledore defended him. A huge point was that Voldemort had a promise to Snape that to spare Lily, and which we all know she didn't. Thank you, Rob, for putting that in there. Absolutely. So during this time, Snape actually fabricated. Snape fabricated
the fact. Intervened as well.
So Snape fabricated the fact that he believed Voldemort to be dead. But in truth, he and Dumbledore knew that Voldemort would actually return eventually. And this was the reason that he applied to be a teacher to ensure the safety of Harry. Snape is known to be a stickler for discipline, but obviously showed bias for Slytherins. He would bully other students without repercussions, especially Neville, for obvious reasons. If Voldemort went after Neville, Lily would have never died, and he always thought of the what if. So Snape was cold to Harry, as his actions were being reported by Death Eaters to Voldemort. But in reality, he was actually protecting Harry. He just wanted to make sure that if Voldemort was like eavesdropping and watching into his visions, that he would know that like he wasn't being a double agent. This was so like he would never know too much about Voldemort's plans. That way, like when Harry and his friends were doing something to like stop the plans, he would have been like, I didn't know. How would I have known? Right? So playing devil's advocate. So
So I think
1991.
at some
Yes.
point, I think J.K. Rowling told Alan Rickman that his story and like that kind of end game, so he was actually able to play Snape even
Mm-hmm.
more accurately, I think. Do you
Yeah.
remember reading about that?
Yeah, I do. And I love Alan Rickman. May he rest in peace. I love him as an actor. I'm a gush about him a little bit. But like he's one of my favorite actors, especially with Galaxy Quest. I love that movie. It's a ridiculous movie, but
It's amazing.
it is so close to my heart. Um, yeah. So
Mhm.
1991 is where we're gonna do our first point, and that's in Harry Potter 1. So in 1991, the Philosopher's Stone went from Gringotts to Hogwarts for safekeeping because they knew never give up, never surrender. Yes, AD. Yes.
Contender!
Oh my
Right.
God. Yes. Um,
The song's in my
so
head now, thanks.
Snape contributed to the defense for against this artifact to keep it safe by adding this potions riddle, as we had talked about before. On Halloween, a mountain troll was let into the castle. So Snape tried to stop Quirrell from sneaking into the restricted third floor where the stone was hiding, was actually bitten by Fluffy, which is why he had that scar on his leg.
Mhm.
Quirrell's first attempt at Harry's life was when he jinxed his broom during the Quidditch match.
Mhm.
Snape actually performs a counter curse. Sorry. Hermione actually sees this and thinks that Snape is the one that's jinxing Harry, and goes underneath the bleachers, so to speak, right? And does the spell to set his robes on
Mhm.
fire. Luckily, Snape is very dramatic and knocks Quirrell over, and ultimately broke his eye contact to stop the jinx. So the next part is in Harry Potter 2. Harry found out that Snape found out that Ron and Harry had traveled to Hogwarts in the Flying Ford. Um, and out of fear of Harry being expelled and putting him in danger, Snape confronted them and then called smartly, like Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall, to solve the situation, which they just sent them to detention and said, don't do it again. Um, Dumbledore assured that they would not be expelled, and McGonagall was the one that punished them with a warning and detentions. Um, Snape thought this punishment was too lenient, even though like he wanted them not to be expelled. He still wanted the punishment to be like severe, right? And retaliated by allowing the Slytherin Quidditch team to take over Gryffindor's Quidditch team's practice time, which you can see in the movie with Draco being their new Sitch finder,
Mhm.
snitch. During this year, Professor Snape also worked with the new Defense Against the Dark Arts Professor Lockhart in running the dueling club. Snape showed a large amount of infuriation and anger at Lockhart, who is the teacher of the subject that he most cherished. Snape used the disarming charm and blasted him against the wall. Um, so then Harry and
I
Draco
love
fought each
that.
other. Yes, it was amazing. The guy went flying. So then they had Harry and Draco come up and fight. Snape actually instructs Draco to conjure a snake, and this is when you can see that Harry uses parcel tongue to talk to the snake, and then Snape like quickly like vanishes the snake, and he's like, "Nope, whoops, you weren't supposed to do that." Um, Snape was responsible for brewing the mandrake draught in order to cure all of the petrified from the snake of the Slytherin that had like terrorized the school. So in Harry Potter 3 in 1993,
So I mean, man, he's he's amazing at the potions.
he is. He has saved everybody's life. And he's like, don't worry, I'll save y'all. And then
Hmm.
he brewed the potion and everybody was good.
I got this.
So yeah. In Harry Potter 3 with the muddler. In Harry Potter 3,
Yeah.
Snape was the one that brewed a wolfsbane like potion for Lupin. That's the page 394 that I wrote in my notes, but we already talked about that. Um, Snape thought that Lupin was helping Sirius Black, who was an escapee from Azkaban to enter the Hogwarts castle. So he wasn't really like happy about that. So he went and confronted them at the Whomping Willow. That's when you see all of that happen. At the end of the
Hmm.
school year, Snape ambushed Black and attempted to apprehend him, believing that he had been the one to betray Lily to Voldemort. Snape appeared from underneath the invisibility cloak that he had Harry turn into him earlier that year, tied up Remus, so Lupin, and engaged in an argument with Harry and Hermione while he was also arranging for the Dementors to come get Sirius and Lupin to go back to Azkaban. But before giving up the two to the Dementors, Harry, Ron, and Hermione all use Expelliarmus on Snape, and eventually the two got away. Snape was very upset. So what did he do? Like to like get back is that he revealed that Lupin was a werewolf and forced Lupin to resign from the Defense Against the Dark Arts post as a professor.
So can we
Yes.
talk about? I've seen this in TikToks. Can we talk about how there's a point where Professor Umbridge is with at least I think I don't know if Ron was there, but you have Harry and Hermione that's in the
Mm-hmm.
Forbidden Forest, and you
Right.
see the herd of centaurs come in, and she hides behind the children. I'm sure you guys have seen this in TikToks, and then you see Lupin turns into a werewolf. Now, at this point, Snape is already disarmed. Have you
Right.
seen these TikToks?
No, I don't watch TikToks.
So you have Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and Snape stands in front of them, and you can see it. He stands in front of them and goes like this. He doesn't have a wand. He
Yeah,
has nothing to defend himself. Granted, he may have some like, you know, abilities. Obviously, I'm sure he does, being like the
he
excellent
does.
like wizard that he is.
Yeah.
But he stands in front of the children
Yeah.
to protect them. And I just want to point that out. At what people don't give him enough credit. He has no wand. He has no way to defend them, but he is going to stand in front of the children and protect them because obviously Professor Lupin is not within his right mind when he's in his werewolf form.
Absolutely. Right. Right. Yeah. That I
Such a good
remember
guy.
that specifically in the movie, and I always thought that that was like pretty cool, but then I was also like, why is he doing that if he hates them so much? And then you like find out later why, and I'm like, ah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So in Harry Potter 4, Snape is extremely angry that Harry's name is the one that's chosen from the Goblet of Fire for the Triwizard tournament. But he refused to believe that Harry was the one that entered it. So Professor Moody had Snape's office ransacked, claiming that it was like an Aurora's privilege, whereas in fact it was just so he could get the ingredients to make more Polyjuice potion, because we all know he was not who he said he was. um, so at the end of this movie, it was Dumbledore and Snape that tried to convince the disbelieving Cornelius Fudge that Voldemort had actually returned. And Snape finally just revealed the truth about Black's innocence, and that goes into the next movie. So in Harry Potter 5,
Potter
this is
6.
1995 to 1996. With Voldemort's return, Snape had to carry on as the double agent for Voldemort. So when Harry starts having visions about Voldemort, Dumbledore asks Snape to teach him the way to like close his mind to like shut it off through the telepathic connection. Um, However, Snape had to be very careful in the way that he helped, as this would show Voldemort, if he were to read Harry's mind at that point, um, like that he was like a double agent. So he had to be very careful about what he was doing. So he was a hell of an actor in the books as well as, in the movie. It's just amazing. So in Harry Potter 6, this is in July of 1996, Dumbledore is afflicted with the curse that was cast upon the ring, which is one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Snape was able to slow the curse. However, he knew that it would kill him in the year. Aware of Voldemort's order for Draco to kill Dumbledore, Dumbledore actually asked Snape to kill him to spare Draco's soul and prevent a slow and painful death. So Snape actually ended up agreeing to the headmaster's request, although he was very reluctant to do so in the beginning. But Dumbledore was like, yo, man, like he would have like all amounts of trust in you if you did this. And he's like, you know what? You're right. So Snape left and then was visited by Bellatrix and Draco's mom, Narcissa Malfoy, at his home. And this is when the two of them had told Snape that Draco had been given this super difficult like task by Voldemort, and Narcissa swore Snape into the unbreakable vow. The unbreakable vow pretty much says like, if you don't do what I'm saying, you're gonna die. Which is why it would have been super great if Snape did this with Voldemort at the beginning. But anyway, this unbreakable vow would be for Snape to protect Draco, complete Voldemort's task, and finish the task if Draco failed, or he would die. Snape ended up doing this vow, and we continue. So Dumbledore announced that he was appointing Snape as the professor of the dark arts. And then this is when Harry becomes into the possession of the property of the Half-Blood Prince Advanced Potions book. So Snape then went into Dumbledore's office. This is when Dumbledore told Snape that Harry actually had to die as he was one of the Horcruxes. He is mad, but still showed that he loved Lily, Harry Potter's mom, by revealing his Patronus, which was a doe, same as Lily's. So Dumbledore asked him, like, you still love her all this time? And he said, always, yes. Yes. Oh, such a touching moment. So touching. So always. Yes, Rob, always. So Snape rushed to the fight with Harry and Draco, where he had realized that Harry had just used the Septum Centra on Draco. He healed Draco's wounds, and then he was trying to like talk to Harry about like, where did you get this book? Where did you get the book? And right. Like Harry like switched his book with Ron's because Snape was like, let me see all your books, and then he like gave him all of his books, but one was like Ron's, so he never actually saw the book. So then Harry actually had discovered that it was Snape that had heard the prophecy about the end of July child being the demise of Voldemort, and was the one that told it to Voldemort. Despite all of like Harry's angry questions, like Dumbledore was like, dude, I still trust him. Trust me, I trust him. So after they got the locket, they went to back to the astronomy tower. And Dumbledore was like super weakened by Voldemort's potion, and the school was under attack. So he had asked Harry to go get Snape. But before Harry could leave, Draco had arrived and disarmed Dumbledore, who is, spoiler alert, holding the Elder Wand. This is like
What?
super. Yeah, so Dumbledore is always the one that had the wand. We'll get to that in a little bit, but Draco disarmed him, so now the wand is not like with Dumbledore anymore. But he's not able to fulfill the task of trying to kill him, so Snape had to do it. This is the part in the movie where you see Snape coming up to Harry in the bottom of the astronomy tower and just saying shh to him, and then like going up, killing Dumbledore. It was really well done in the movie. AD, you are completely correct. I did not read the books either, but this moment
100%.
is just like so well done. So this left Snape to kill Dumbledore. This obviously enraged Harry, who chased after Snape. The two of them engaged in a duel, which was ultimately, obviously, one-sided. But Snape just was like blocking all of Harry's attempts to like hit him, but refused to strike back. Snape ended up getting mad at Harry when he calls him a coward. And then used his own spell and reveals to be the Half-Blood Prince. So, on to Harry Potter 7. He's on the run. So, in the summer of 1997, Snape informed Voldemort that Harry was about to depart for his relative's house. On Dumbledore's orders, Snape actually told him the correct date. But Snape told Mundungus Fletcher to use the 7 decoys of Harry Potter. So when the Death Eaters arrived, they wouldn't know who the real one was. To be consistent with his dual, like, person thing, agent, there we go, dual agent, Snape had made Fletcher not remember anything that he had told him. During this battle, he was trying to aim at a Death Eater using Septum Sentra, but accidentally cut off George Weasley's ear, which is what you see in the movie. So, as headmaster, yes. Was I not hearing you before?
Sorry, you got off his ear. I was like, can you hear me now? Sorry.
No, I'm good.
No, it was a joke.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that went right over my head. I'm so sorry. So
it's okay. I'm weird. It's okay. I'm weird.
I'm sorry. I'm like so into my like notes and like saying everything that I completely missed your joke about him cutting off the ear. And can you hear me now? All right. So
I'm weird. It's okay. You're good.
That's why we get along. So in 1997 to 1998, Snape was appointed as headmaster of Hogwarts. And he appointed Death Eaters as the deputy heads. Snape actually used potions to discreetly protect the students.
He kind of had to.
And contain the Death Eaters. So like he was like, all right, like we're gonna do the things, but I'm gonna be real secretive about it, So Snape continued to actually receive directions in the form of like instructions, right, from Dumbledore's portrait, because all of the headmaster's portraits are there, and he's like talking to the portrait and still getting instructions, which I thought was super cool. So the Sword of Gryffindor was removed from the glass case, which was in the headmaster's office, and was supposed to be given in accordance with Dumbledore's his will and testament, right, to Harry. However, it wasn't there. It was actually a fake. The real one was actually in the wall behind Dumbledore's portrait. thought that was super cool. It's not in the books, but that was super dope. So he actually gave the fake sword after Luna, Neville, and Ginny tried to steal it from the office and then sent to detention. Snape gave the sword, the fake sword, to Bellatrix Lestrange, who thought it was real and kept it in her vault, which is why when you see it in the movies, she's like, how did you get that? You were in my vault. How were you in my vault? It wasn't actually like, it wasn't the real one, right? So then
But
Dumbledore's
that just goes
portrait.
to show you that Bellatrix doesn't know the lore behind the Sword of Gryffindor, because it will
Correct.
appear to any Gryffindor that is truly in need.
Correct.
You can't keep
And
it in a vault, girl.
if Snape is if Snape is a Slytherin and then she keeps it, she's obviously like, you know, a Slytherin, right?
Mhm.
And she just keeps it in her vault. Like, how would that
Probably.
stay there? Yeah, like I'm not saying definitively that she is. I'm saying theoretically with my brain where it is, I'm saying that she's probably a Slytherin. Not saying that all Slytherins are bad, clearly. Obviously, as we have one in our heroes list. So Dumbledore's portrait actually instructed
True.
Snape to give the sword to Harry, the real one. So Snape actually took the real sword and then hid it in the frozen pond near Harry's camp spot. He used his Patronus, which, if we all remember, is the same as his mother's, the doe, to lead Harry from his camp to the spot where it was in the lake. Snape fled the castle, jumping out of a window, and he used his ability to fly without a broom, which ultimately we all think is kind of what he learned from Voldemort, because he was found out that like he had killed Dumbledore. So now we're going into the Battle of Hogwarts. So Voldemort told Snape, as the master of the Elder Wand, from killing Dumbledore, that Snape must die, so that the Elder Wand could be his. The way that the Elder Wand works is whoever has it is the user. However, if you disarm them, whoever disarms them is the one that like has the wand. However, Voldemort didn't know that Draco had disarmed Dumbledore prior to Snape killing him. So what Voldemort thought was that Snape was the one that was the owner of the Elder Wand. He wasn't. He tried to explain the situation.
Mhm.
However, before he could get all of his words out, Voldemort actually ordered Nagini to kill Snake by biting him in his neck before he could finish. Super sad. Snake also took the 2 Death Eaters who flee. Yeah. There we go. That's right, Rob. Thank you for letting me know about that. I totally forgot about that. So, dying, Snape actually released a cloud of memories and told Harry in his like dying breath to take them, because he was watching like in hiding, right? So Harry took the memories to Dumbledore's office, where he discovered that Snape had befriended Lily, and had been separated upon their arrival. He had seen that Snape actually went to Dumbledore, like begged him to hide the Potters from Voldemort. What was Snape's last words to Harry? I think it was like, "Let me see your eyes" or something like that, because he wanted to see Harry's eyes because he had his mother's eyes. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't. I'm like
Yeah,
kind of like,
Lily's eyes.
yeah. You have Lily's eyes. It was. Look at me. There we go. Yeah. That was me kind of paraphrasing off the top of my memory. So Snape had been seen going to Dumbledore, begging him to hide the Potters from Voldemort, who was planning to target Lily's son to prevent the prophecy. Snape felt pain and remorse that Lily had been murdered and agreed to help Dumbledore protect Harry. Now, this is all just kind of like what Harry's actually seeing, to show him that Snape isn't a bad guy. He's actually the hero of a lot of things. So
Mhm.
the memories also revealed that Snape had been the one to slow the curse on Dumbledore, and at the end, um, it showed that Snape was outraged at the fact that Harry had to die, and that revealed his Patronus that he had still loved his mom till his dying breath. Due to the memories, Harry understood where Snape alliances always were, and it showed Harry the memory where Dumbledore had told Snape that Harry was a Horcrux and to tell him at the right time. Um, so, needless to say, Harry has one of his children, and his name is Albus Severus Potter. It's the second son to Harry, and this was the only one to inherit Lily's bright green, almond shaped eyes that he named after Snape because of the impact that this man had on his life. So that's Snape.
He's such an
Jeff's
amazing
crying in
character, such an amazing actor. I
the
mean,
back. Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like to be Snape because, I mean, here is the child of the woman that you absolutely just loved through and through. And not only does, I mean, Harry has his mom's eyes,
Yeah, but
but he
everything else
also
is his
looks
father.
like his dad, James. And
Yeah. And he hates him.
yeah, and I get why, yeah, I get why Snape has such a hard time, like, looking at Harry because not only does he look like James and he acts like James a lot of times, but he is also Lily.
Yeah.
And
Through and through, he's
I mean,
Lily.
I cannot, yeah, and I can't imagine what that's like. Like you tried so hard to keep the woman that you love alive, and she dies, and then your best friend slash boss wants you to help protect him while he's going through Hogwarts, and I can't imagine what's going through him during that time.
It's a lot of like give and take, I can only
And he
imagine.
like
Yeah.
supports Dumbledore like through and through, like even kills Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out
and
of
like he
Dumbledore's
he
request,
saves
it was
Draco's
Dumbledore that
soul, but so
requested.
he doesn't have to kill
Yeah.
Dumbledore. Like such a
What
good
was the
guy.
significance
Like
of
I
Snape's
mean, if you
question to
ever
Harry?
doubt that a
Oh
Slytherin
God,
can
Rob,
be
I'm gonna need you to tell me what that first question was because I don't remember. Do you remember, Jen? What Snape's first question to Harry was? I
I don't remember.
don't remember. I don't remember. I'm
Oh
sorry,
god.
Rob. I let you down. I don't remember. He asked what happens when you mix powdered root of
Oh yeah.
astral.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know.
I remember
I don't
that.
know this. Jen, do you know the answer to this? Why that was significant? No? Rob, tell us, because
Mm-mm.
now we need to know. Help.
Rob dropping knowledge.
I don't know. I need it. I need the knowledge now. Infusion of wormwood.
Reading.
I don't know. Okay.
So
Well,
while
I,
Rob types up his dropping knowledge on us, we are going to start talking about Neville Longbottom. Now,
yes, ma'am.
he's the other person that my friends in the USDM page voted, which I was super excited about because, he's I don't have a super whole lot of information about him, but he is also a really important character. Um,
Yes, he
he
is.
is the only child of Frank and Alice Longbottom. Yeah. Um, they
Oh my
so
god.
Alice and Frank were
Really? Rob, my dude. I'm gonna go start crying now. I need a
I
moment. I'm
I
sorry.
can't handle these feelings. Okay. Excuse us. We're gonna take a minute. Be right back. No, I'm joking. Um, so, um, so no,
Dude,
I don't blame
that's
Snape.
wild.
I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, he loved her so much. That's his Patronus. That's his true
Literally.
source of
Yeah.
happiness. You can only create a Patronus
Off of
unless
your happy
you
memory.
tap into
Yes.
that true source of happiness for yourself. Yes, you have to have an absolutely beautiful, happy memory. That's what I think was so amazing that Harry was able to create a corporeal stag as his Patronus, just like his dad. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, he had so many things in his life that weren't happy. I mean, he lived under
Hmm.
the stairs for crying out loud. Okay,
Yeah. But he
right.
had his own
Thank
room.
you for that tangent.
So, Neville, tell me about dear Neville.
All right. So Neville. So, um, Neville's parents were very well respected Aurors, and they were actually members of the original Order of the Phoenix. As you remember from the books and the movie, they were tortured by Bellatrix Lestrange and other Death
Hmm.
Eaters with the Cruciatus curse. So just like Harry, Neville's birth was marked by a prophecy of being one of two children with the potential to defeat Lord Voldemort. Um, so in Harry Potter 1, we meet Neville, and he's mostly shy, clumsy, introverted. I can identify with that.
Yeah.
Um, and he was, what we didn't know is that he was constantly being told by his grandmother, who ended up raising him. um, he was not parents' accomplishments. Um, Neville was like constantly was intimidated by Gryffindor's reputation for bravery. And during the sorting ceremony, he silently argued with the sorting hat for a really long time to be placed into Hufflepuff. But the sorting hat won in the end and placed him in the Gryffindor. So, what a lot of people don't know, and they don't really show it in the movie, they kind of allude to it more in the books, is that when people are being sorted into their houses, it's not like a quick boop. Oh, you're going to Gryffindor. Boop, and you're done. It's it's a conversation that you have with the sorting hat. The sorting hat can actually see into you. It takes your choices into consideration, just like you saw with Harry, of like potentially being sorted into Slytherin, but he's like, please, please, no, 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 God, no. And even with
Right. But
Hermione, having
real quick,
yeah,
sorry, real tangent.
what
Um, wasn't it interesting? Like thinking of
girl
it
go?
now, that like the Sorting Hat went onto Harry's
What?
head, and it was like, would you like, do we want to do Slytherin or do we want to do Gryffindor? And the reason I feel like why they
Mhm.
wanted to put him into Slytherin was because he had half of Voldemort in him, because he was a Horcrux, which is like so amazing to think of
Oh,
it now
100%.
as to like,
100%.
yes.
Mhm.
And it was just like, like after
But
watching like the whole series and being like thrown through all of the emotions, and then like watching it again, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, that was why. But anyway, sorry, continue.
yeah. And well, no, that's why the sorting hat is so important. I mean, as you can see, even Neville like wants to go into Hufflepuff, and I'll explain
Okay.
why later why it chose what it did, and then why Hermione could have potentially be put into Ravenclaw, which are notoriously more studious, but she wanted to be put into Gryffindor. So again, the sorting hat looks into you, but it also considers your choice, and it makes
Right.
the choice that's probably what's best for you. It takes probably sorting into houses very seriously for the most part. Um,
Absolutely.
so you see Neville, and he's in Professor Snape's class, and he melted his cauldron, um, and that was brewing. Another student was drenched in this, so he's obviously not very good at these things. Um, and you see in the first Harry Potter movie, he's flying on his broom and he falls off and ends up breaking his wrist and has to be taken to the hospital or medical wing.
Hmm.
And then when Harry and the trio leave to have a duel with Draco Malfoy. Um, that is where Neville actually trailed after them, and he was also another person that drew the attention to Fluffy. Oh, Fluffy, you come up again. The three-headed that dog's important, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then also during the Christmas holiday, Neville actually suffered a cruel prank by Draco in which his legs were stuck together by a leg locker curse. Um, and Neville obviously was like super upset about this, and this is where he gave him his last chocolate frog,
Oh.
trying to console him because I think Neville actually had to hop all the way back to the Gryffindor Tower. And this act of kindness from Harry actually helped them in the long run because this is where they were able to identify Nicholas Flamel. So it was Dumbledore's collectible card, and Nicholas Flamel was mentioned on this collectible card. And so
Oh,
Harry's
on
act
the
of
chocolate
kindness
in the
towards Neville,
chocolate
he's like,
frog.
"Oh, look, it has Nicholas Flamel on there."
Oh,
Yep, on the collectible
okay,
card that
that's
comes with
wild.
the chocolate
Okay.
frogs. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Um, yeah. Um, and so you see the first time that Neville actually sticks up for himself is during a Quidditch match. Malfoy was actually taunting the Gryffindor team, and Neville challenged Malfoy. Now, I think this is where Crabbe and Goyle, uh, with Ron, and they jump into this big fight with um, Malfoy, and I think Neville ends up getting knocked out by Crabbe and Goyle. So
Yeah.
there's a point where he's starting to stand up for himself. He's getting
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
So he showed some bravery. Um, and then on the night that Professor Quirrell was starting or attempting to steal the philosopher or the sorcerer's stone, however you want to put it, he attempted to stop Harry, Hermione, and Ron. But this is where Hermione froze him. But
Yeah.
um, it was like a full body bind curse, I think is what she casted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, and in the end, he ended up being awarded 10 points to Gryffindor, which pushed them into first place because I think they were tied with Slytherin at that point.
They were.
But
Yeah.
he was recognized for standing up to his friend, which, as you can imagine, that's really hard to do. Like
Yeah.
stand up to your friends. Can imagine
Hmm.
that takes like a huge amount of bravery. Um, so during Harry Potter 2 and the Chamber of Secrets, is when the basilisk is attacking the students, and he was afraid that he was going to be attacked, but he was told, like, you don't have to, be worried, like you're a pure blood wizard. But Neville was actually worried that he was a squib. Now, those of you that don't know what a squib is, it's a child that's born of magical parents that actually has no magical abilities at all. And he was actually afraid that he was still in danger, even though he was a pureblood.
Did you
Man, that made me
actually
so
hear
sad. I read
the
that, I was like, oh,
Did you
oh,
hear
Neville,
the
poor boy.
theory that Hermione actually comes from like a very powerful line of wizards and like her parents were just squibs? Did you hear that? Because that's another TikTok like theory.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just wondering. My
Go ahead.
my
Girl,
work.
you can't like drop that shit, not say anything about it. Girl, say
No,
it.
I mean like so my work friend just kind of like dropped that like knowledge on me and then like walked away and I was like, huh. Because you were talking about Squib just now, and it like because of like an AD said it, like it's an actual interesting theory that makes sense because of like how powerful of a sorceress that she actually
Mhm.
like a witch that she is, right? Like how is she gonna have all of this magical ability but have like only like non-magical parents, right? So yeah, there's a theory out there for all of you that are listening, for a rabbit hole, if you will. that Hermione actually is not um, Muggle blood.
So it's skipped a generation. That would actually make sense because as powerful as she is, that would
Right?
actually make more sense than her just coming
Right.
from Muggle parents,
Yep.
having no magical bloodline at all, and her
Mm,
being like super amazing, like can cast spells before she even gets a wand.
yeah.
I can totally believe that. I can wrap my brain around that one.
Okay.
Um, so Harry Potter 3. Um, so in the movie, it doesn't show it, but Neville's actually present when the Dementors actually enter the train compartment, and he once they get to Hogwarts, he tells people about this experience, and this is where Malfoy starts taunting Harry about fainting. Um, and then also in the divinations class with Professor Trelawney, this is where he breaks like her teacups. I don't know if they actually show that. and and then this is where she actually urged him to like, try to catch up with the class. Try to, do better. And I'm like, really?
Damn.
Is that
Damn.
really necessary?
He's
Poor guy. I'm like,
trying.
he's trying.
He
I'm like,
is
give him a break.
trying.
I know. No. Give poor man a break. Um, and then this is also where he's in the potions class and his shrinking potion is orange instead of green. And Professor Snape tells him that he'll feed some of this potion to Neville's toad if he didn't get it right. So
Damn.
Hermione ends up helping him. Remember, I kind of alluded that before. Hermione likes to help other people, even though she comes across as being very bossy, but she does actually help people and she helps Neville a lot. And his potion ends up turning green with her guidance. He successfully shrinks his toad Trevor to like a little tadpole, but in the end, Professor Snape ends up taking 5 points from Gryffindor just out of spite for Hermione helping.
Good old
um,
Snape.
and if you, I know, leave it to him, right? Um, and then with Professor Lupin teaching the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, you see that Neville's actually the first one to face a boggart, and
hmm
it turns turns into Professor Snape. And this
It
is where Professor
does.
Lupin teaches him how to kind of overcome a boggart. You imagine like the boggart in or in this case Professor Snape and like your grandmother's clothes. Um, and he ends up earning 10 points for Gryffindor for banishing the boggart by the end of the class.
Dude, that was like
And
such a
also
funny
it
scene
shows
though.
where he
It was just such a funny
seeing
scene.
Alan
Like,
Rickman in like grandmother's clothes is hilarious. I love it. Love the moo. It's the best. Um, so this is also the one where he loses the password to Gryffindor because they keep changing the password so much. I think he ends up writing it down on a piece of paper, and he loses that piece of paper. And then Sirius Black is actually able to gain access into the Gryffindor Tower.
this is why he
So
needs that
Professor
remember all.
McGonagall actually bans him from.
Remember the
Yeah, but it doesn't actually help him remember anything.
No,
No,
it
but
just
it
says
just
that
tells
you
him he's
remembered,
forgetting
you
something. He's
forgot
like, I
something
don't
and you
remember.
just can't remember what. Yeah.
He's like, what? And I remember in that scene, he forgot his cloak. He's like, I don't remember what I didn't remember. And I'm like, really, dude? Like, come on. Um, so Professor McGonagall actually bans him from having the for bans him from Hogmeads, and then also bans him from having the password into Gryffindor Tower. So he actually has to rely on the other students. So he has to stand there and wait in order for him to gain access to the tower. And I think the entire time, the fat lady that actually guards the entrance to the Gryffindor Tower is just sitting there like, sneering at him like, yeah, she just sneered. She that was whoever they got to play her is like absolutely hilarious. She's funny. Um, so on to Harry Potter 4. Um, this is where
Hmm.
Professor Moody, air quotes, has his first class for defense against the dark arts. And he starts giving the class information about the Cruciatus curse. And he uh, demonstrates this curse on a spider.
Hmm.
Now, Neville is absolutely terrified. Understandably so, because as we remember that Bellatrix Lestrange and other Death Eaters performed this curse on his parents.
Right.
Um, but Professor Moody ends up using Neville, because we know it's not Moody, right? Um, and gave him a book on magical water plants. And this is actually how Harry gets the idea of using the gillyweed in during the Triwizard tournament that he needed for his second task. So Neville did play a part in that. Um, and then it also showed in another class by Professor Moody that he was put under the Imperious curse and able to perform like all these like gymnastics things that he normally wouldn't be able to if he wasn't under this curse. Again, this wasn't shown in the movies, but it shows you, at least in the book, like how powerful these curses are. Um,
Right.
just yeah, the Imperious curse is definitely not something like you can do things that you normally can't do when you're not under it. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Um, during Harry Potter 5, you don't really see a whole lot of Neville. You see him kind of participating. He was actually one of the first people that signed up for Dumbledore's army there. Um, I think this is where you first see Neville actually successfully disarm someone. I think he ends up disarming Harry
Hmm.
in the room of requirement. So you start seeing Neville gain a little bit of confidence and
Yeah.
showing some talent.
And this is
And
why
I
we love
know
character
Harry plays a
progression.
big part in that. That was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Neville, because you see him as this shy, introverted, clumsy kid, and he has really great character growth. Like
Hmm.
I think where he really starts to blossom is probably the last few Harry Potter books. He starts gaining some encouragement from Harry and some acknowledgement, and that he really just starts to blossom. Um,
Right.
so even in the books and Harry Potter 5 and Dumbledore's army, he starts improving like beyond all recognition in just a few months. Like he absolutely throws his heart into learning the things that Harry is teaching. Like it's just amazing. Um, and Harry Potter 6, though, this is when 10 Death Eaters escaped. This is also including some of the ones that tortured his parents. Um, but Neville didn't really talk about it, but Harry comments that it brought a strange and even alarming change in Neville when these Death Eaters escaped. He worked harder than anyone in Dumbledore's army and was faster to pick up new spells. The only person that kind of outdid him was, of course, Hermione. And that says something
Nerd.
about
Yeah.
our dear Neville, right? The nerd is getting strong with this one. And then also in the Hall of Prophecies, when they're going to find Harry's prophecy, um, yeah, getting there, Rob.
Hmm.
Yeah, he really does, really does. Um, he disarms Sebastian Lestrange in the time room. He also accidentally disarms Harry in the same time room as well. But he's definitely an asset in this particular part of the story. He was unable to help Harry in the death chamber with several Death Eaters that actually had Harry cornered. But he did also try to help Hermione's wand with Hermione's wand. So she was actually ended up being knocked unconscious. But
Mm-hmm.
he had gotten hit and his nose was broken, so he wasn't actually able to pronunciate the spells appropriately. But he was still
Yikes.
trying to. Can you imagine trying to like?
Nope. Nope.
Like that's what was going through my.
I
I just
appreciate
wanted
that you
to
did that.
pantomime that for you, just in case you wouldn't like wrap your brain around it. Like he had a hard time, had a really hard time. Um, and then
80 is also
also during
laughing.
this exchange, 80's done for. And Bellatrix Lestrange briefly tortured Neville, um, risked the Cruciatus curse
Oh.
to make Harry hand over the prophecy orb. And Neville's telling Harry not to hand over the orb. He's like, "Don't do it. Don't do it." Um, and this is when the Order of the Phoenix arrives, and Harry tries to get out with Neville, and they were stopped by another Death Eater. And Harry and Neville are trying to escape, and that's when Neville ends up breaking the prophecy accidentally because it's hidden in like this glass orb.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is also where you learn from Dumbledore that um, Harry and Neville are both born at the close of July, just like the prophecy from Professor Trelawney had said. And Dumbledore tells Harry that he did believe that the prophecy did refer to Harry and Neville equally. It's just Voldemort chose or marked Harry as his equal as
Yeah.
attacking him. Um, in the end, Neville's grandmother ended up purchasing him a new wand. Um, and I think it ended up being a 13-inch cherry wood with a unicorn hair cord. Just want to point that out. Um, just to point out that even though there's a lot of things that went on in Harry Potter 5, what you can see is that it's not just Neville trying. He's embodying what it means to be a Gryffindor. He is having courage. He is showing bravery, although he's not
Mm-hmm.
always doing the best, but he has that within himself. That's
He's doing the best that he
right.
can do as himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, in Harry Potter 6, um, this is where Professor Slughorn is and the Defense Against the Dark Arts, and he's invited to the Slug Club, and he doesn't quite meet the quota, so he gets kind of booted, and I think it kind of hurts his feelings a little bit. Um, he also tests for his owls, and he gets herbology, charms, outstanding, and then his defense against the dark arts does exceeds expectations. Just little note.
Okay.
Um, and his he does okay with transconfiguration, but I think Professor McGonagall says, don't go for it because it's going to be too hard. And you're not going to be able to keep up with other people. He was present during the battle of the astronomy tower. He responded to there was a summons. I don't think they mentioned that in the movie, but there was a summons through the Dumbledore's army coins, and him and Luna um, came. And I believe he stood outside. I think he was with Luna outside the room of requirement with Ron and Jenny waiting for Malfoy. That Ralph Malfoy ended up evading them, and Neville ended up getting injured and spending a considerable amount of time in the hospital wing. But I think there's in one of the games you actually see him there during Dumbledore's funeral. Now, Harry Potter 7. Guys, this is where Neville just absolutely blossoms, and not just because he's great at herbology, blossoms into this a beautiful, beautiful flower. He just so proud. Look at you, you did so good. So Harry, the trio, Harry, Ron, Hermione, are gone searching for the Horcruxes, right? So Neville stays behind at Hogwarts, and he restarts Dumbledore's army with Luna and Jenny. Um, he got into trouble with like the Death Eater professors for refusing to practice the Cruciatus curse on the students as like a form of punishment, which to me is like understandable. Like my parents got
Yep.
tortured with that. Bitch, I ain't doing that
And
shit to
he
my
got
fellow students as
tortured.
punishment.
Right.
I'm like, fuck you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like fuck you twice. Like no. Um, and then I remember Snape ended up getting involved in the book, and his punishment was sending them to detention in the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid. Nuts. Guess I'll just go into the forest with Hagrid. Damn it. Please, no one or anything with that. Um, so Neville kind of faces this thing, like he has this whole rebellion. He's leading this whole rebellion um by himself. They kind of ceased the open rebellion because I think at one point there was somebody was there was a first year that was chained up, and someone was like brutally tortured for trying to free this first year student. So Neville decided kind of like this open rebellion wasn't going to be work anymore. And I think he kind
Mm-hmm.
of lost a lot of heart too after Luna was dragged away by Death Eaters because, like you had said, like her father was worked for the Quibbler, so they were
Mm-hmm.
kind of using Luna as leverage.
Yep.
And then he also lost Jenny when um, the the Weasleys took her and they went into hiding after it was after that fight they had at Malfoy Manor when Bellatrix Lestrange was there, and that was when Dobby died. I don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
Um, and dude, during this time, Neville suffered a lot of torture, um, and beatings and everything at the hand of the Death Eater professors. And they also, at one point, targeted his grandmother. But his grandmother, even though she wasn't super nice to him, she was smart. So once she kind of knew that this was going to happen, she evaded capture and she went into hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he ended up hiding in the room of requirement along with a lot of the other people that are part of Dumbledore's army. Um, and you remember that also connected to Hogshead. So that's where they were getting their food from Aberforth, um, Dumbledore.
Right. Right.
So um, about right. Um, So about the time that Ron, Harry, and Hermione returned, he signaled to the arrest of Dumbledore's army to return to Hogwarts, and that was the beginning of the Battle of Hogwarts. His grandmother was like a legit badass. Yeah, I remember reading about that. Like, I mean, his parents, I mean, both were ours, and then like his like I can kind of see why she's like, come on, Neville, like you're not living up to the family name. But I mean, he just needed his own time to grow. But yeah,
Right.
so like for sure, like I read some stuff about his grandmother. There was a rabbit hole I went down for a little bit, and I was like, damn, man, his grandmother ain't no joke. Like she fucked some
We'll
people
talk
up.
offline.
Um, so Neville being yeah, we'll talk. Um, so this is where it doesn't really show it in the movies, but this is where Neville uses a lot of his knowledge of plants to like attack the Death Eaters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is where he tells he tells Harry like, "Hey, it's going to be my top priority to get Nagini, Voldemort's snake, because they knew that she was a Horcrux." Um, and this is even after Harry goes into the woods and supposedly dies. he still stands up in defiance against Voldemort. Can we say Voldemort's name? Should we say he who
Yes.
must not be
I've
named?
been
We're in a
saying
safe
it.
place, right? We can
Yeah.
say his
Yeah.
name. We're good. Okay.
Absolutely. Who
Okay.
must not be named
Voldemort.
Voldemort.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
kind of cringe a little bit. I'm like, can I say that? Oh. Okay. Um, this is where you see Neville, even though Harry's dead, a lot of his friends are getting beat up and everything, he still stands up in defiance. Hell yeah, dude. Um, and he was even in the books he was forced to wear the sorting hat to like almost like force his loyalty to Voldemort, and it was actually burning his head, and he actually refused to
Yo,
like pledge his loyalty to Voldemort.
that's
Yeah,
wild. Okay.
girl, girl, books. I know. I mean, there's some things like I get why they leave it out, but there's other things I'm like, yeah, you could have mentioned that. Just saying.
Yeah.
And because of the amazing bravery that he showed, he was able to pull the Sword of Gryffindor from the Sorting Hat. So he proved himself to be a true Gryffindor at that point in the eyes of Godric Gryffindor,
Yes,
which is
because whoever gets a sword needs it the
something that
most. Amazing. It's
exactly.
amazing.
And he doubted this a lot the whole time that that poor kid was at Hogwarts. He was so shy, weak-willed, and he was kind of like this bumbling goofball. Um, he never truly believed that he was a Gryffindor. Now, I just want to point out this awesome, awesome moment where he takes off Nagini's head. Girl, he doesn't hack it. He hits her with one stroke
How does he do it? Tell me.
and cuts her head off. Girl, you see her head going like, I was just like, oh my gosh.
With a single swipe, just gone.
So he did. And all in all, like later on he ends up becoming the head of the Gryffindor house, while McGonagall is the headmistress in the book of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Mm-hmm.
But he Neville Longbottom went through this amazing transformation from this timid scaredy cat into this soldier of like ironclad will. That's the only like thing I can. I'm like, he's amazing. I mean, even like the person like transforms into like this chubby kid, which don't we all love chubby kids? And he just comes out like this brute chiseled guy, and I was like, what happened to Neville? I'm like, who is this? My God, what happened? Um, and he becomes this ferocious defender of his fellow students during Voldemort's
Mm-hmm.
reign. And I have to say, like in the end, the Sorting Hat got it right when she
Yeah.
placed him in a Gryffindor. Is 100% where he belonged, even though he didn't believe it. Guys, when the Sorting Hat puts you into a place, you just need to have faith that that is where you are meant to be.
Now I have the song "Gotta Have Faith, Faith, Faith." Sorry, in my head. But anyway,
Can I
bye,
have
Rob. Thanks for
faith?
sticking through. Yeah.
Woo!
So you ready for our final shots and thoughts?
I am. Let's do this.
Okay. So, final shots and thoughts. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for everybody that tuned in to our 5th episode. Super thankful for everybody that commented and everything. You guys have been super helpful with getting us that info. I super appreciate it. Stay tuned for the USDN page for our updates for our 6th episode, which you guessed it, it's Hogwarts Villains coming right at you. But that's going to be in like November because in October we're going to be doing a whole bunch of horror stuff. So stay tuned for that because that's going to be super fun. Okay, so USDN episode 3 is coming at you live. On September 23rd. Mark your calendars at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Continuing our Predator and Alien universe. We have more to come for our interview series, so also go ahead and check out that. If you haven't watched any of those interviews, you have them on Spotify, Apple Music, you name it, we got it. We got you. We also wanted to point out that as a Patreon member, you will have exclusive access for episode by episode breakdown of Ahsoka. If you did not see the first one, it's already out. Come on Tuesday, we will be releasing it for the rest of you non-Patreon members to go ahead and listen to it. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment. We are open to feedback. Please let us know what you guys think. Your one and only Rob, who's been active in our comments, is also live on that as well. So we super appreciate you. The next one, however, if you're a Patreon member, will be on Monday, September 4th. But fear not. If you're not a Patreon member, we will be giving you a full up season wrap party date here to come. Cannot remember it off the top of my head. We will get that to you. Special thank you goes out to the DFPN family. That episode for the season wrap party is on October 11th, by the way. Sorry to change course, but going back. A special thank you goes out to the DFPN podcast group, our fam. Thank you for all the love and support that you've given us. If you like this little hat here, you see it, you love it, I love it. It fits great on my head. You guys can get it in our merch shop. If you don't know where it is, we have a link tree. Don't worry, we got you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is USDN approved. Jeff, you got our outro?